Go for it.
Hey, everybody. Victoria
Hey,
is back. Victoria,
Hey,
how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm hanging in there, trying to stay healthy and sane.
Yeah, and folks, for those of you who didn't see our first go at this is a live stream, which was on May 27th of last year, I believe. Victoria and her partner produced, Victoria Vertuga is her last name, is Italian, right?
Yes, it is. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Hey, have you watched Stanley Tucci's episodes, by the way, of food? It's on CNN. It's I mean, it makes me hungry all the time. But anyway.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But it's set in Italy. Anyway,
Nice.
Victoria produced Disgraced, and it's a very funny, I will say, hyper real look at what we all go through in society, but what she is in particular has went through in, well, her work to be a Hollywood actress and get work,
Yeah.
And so on that note, have a look. And I want to make absolutely certain, folks, that for those of you who are out there and are wanting to say this for posterity, this is also posted on Facebook and right now, so you can actually click in over there. If you happen to see it, you see this thing that says live on Zinni Abraham. That's my profile there, and we are live that way and other places too. So
all over the internet, taking over.
Yeah, well, it took over. This is the introduction from her great comedy.
Hey, I'm Grace Green.
Disgraced.
I am focused on pulling my career out of this rut. Okay, fine. 5-year free fall.
And that makes you Gretchen.
It's Grace.
Oh, duh, Grace. I knew that.
You're not 23 anymore. Girl, you look older than me.
It is only through mountains of pressure that a diamond can be forged.
I think I was putting on my yogi T1s. Grace Green.
You came into the audition too rough and real. No, honey. What you have is a nice whack that got you your one shot in the business, and you blew it.
I also speak 5 languages. I do know one phrase in Spanish. Chupa mi polla. It means suck my...
Good times.
Hey, so for those who may not have seen the first episode, this is actually will be tied together in a playlist series. Again, how did Disgrace start? I know the story, but
yeah. So, me and my writing partner, he'd obviously been listening to tons of my stories over the years of just ridiculous shenanigans that I've gone through, basically, and we were watching. I don't know. So we were flipping through channels, and some movie came on with a girl who was like the lead in. I want to say it was I can't remember anymore at this point. It was the Terminator, I think, actually. She was like the lead in the 3rd Terminator.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. And basically she, it didn't do well. She was kind of blamed for it not doing well and was back at it in this movie, this random skin flick on Cinemax that we were watching. And we were just intrigued by the idea of kind of somebody who isn't really even a has-been, more of an almost was, right? Where they had a brief glimpse of success and then had it taken away. So we find that kind of intriguing and interesting. And we basically just mined from my real experiences as an actress, and there were so many to choose from, so many ridiculous experiences. So we just kind of mined that for gold and picked the most uncomfortable and awkward ones and created Disgrace, really. So it's kind of just about the latent sexism that obviously is pervasive in Hollywood. Also just kind of the nature of the business in that everybody is always focus on the next bright, shiny thing, right? And you're only treated as well as whatever you can do for somebody. So we were kind of interested in all of those things and had really a lot of fun exploring that, really.
And what has happened since you produced this? You got an award, didn't you?
Yeah, we did. We actually we waited last year to submit to stuff because we kind of wanted to see, like everybody else, I think, what was going to happen with COVID, and maybe we were hoping that 2021 would be a little bit more open in terms of things to do in person and all that kind of stuff. So we waited to submit. 2021 is here. Who knows what the heck is going to happen, to be honest. So we just decided to go ahead and start submitting this year to festivals, and I'm sure most of them are still going to be virtual, but we just decided to go ahead and get it out there since you only have like a limited window of opportunity once you've produced something and released it. So yeah, so we literally just started submitting. We've gotten into 4 things so far. We just won Best Comedy at 1. And we'll see what happens. We obviously have a lot more that we are going to be submitting to, as the year goes on, as things open up and stuff. And we'll just see what happens. It'll be nice to kind of get it, hopefully get some more eyeballs on it and get to share with people. Obviously, we're bummed, like I'm sure so many content producers are. We had the big like in-person premiere scheduled right at the end of March when COVID happened, everything shut down. So we had to cancel that, and then kind of put the whole thing on hold. We decided to go ahead and release it into the wild just because it sucks to have something that you're like, yes, we're done, we're ready, and then to have to wait on it for so long. So yeah, obviously, like everybody else, we're kind of bummed about the lack of in-person things because there's a lot of good networking and fun that comes from actually being able to experience something in person and see a crowd respond to your film and all that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, we're just trying to, roll with the punches, see what happens and kind of go from there.
Hey, talk to me about the pros and cons of producing a show in a format that's, well, primarily YouTube based, but also can be taken and used on television because of its quality. I mean, and what I'm getting at is, I'll just say it straight out.
Yeah.
When I started out, I covered the Democratic National Convention in 2008 as one of 128 first vloggers, but I also made my YouTube channel. And to make a long story short, this guy wanted all my videos, and I said no, and he made me an offer to have a television show, and I didn't understand the gravity of what he was offering, and I did it anyway. It was Blog Report with Zenny62, and we would take the YouTube videos that I made. I would send them to Colors TV, and they were on Saturdays.
Nice, that's awesome.
We did it for 3 years, and so the great part about it is I had to spend little money at all because I had the videos, right?
Yeah, already had them done.
And the other part of it is how do you get people to get the eyeballs? So in that vein, what are the pros and cons of what you were doing, and what the joys and pains, if anything?
Yeah, well, so we actually decided to make a series of web series instead of a full-length pilot, just because, again, we shot this in a pre-COVID world, so we were kind of looking at it as something that we could do for the festival path. And as far as programming is concerned, like the shorter the better. The shorter the runtime, the better for programmers, because obviously the very long length stuff goes to really big names and either big names on the writing, directing side of it, or big names in front of the camera. So if you're coming from a more independent background without that big draw, it's a lot easier for you to get placed in a festival if you have a short runtime. So that's kind of the reason why we decided to go with a web series, because they're all under 10 minutes. It's very like bite-sized consumable content. Also just for the ease of that as well, in terms of people's attention spans and getting people to like sit through an episode, right? If they watch one 8-minute episode and they like it, they're a lot more likely to stick with you for the whole like hour and a half of programming that you have versus like an hour and a half feature off the bat. So, most people ended up watching our whole series, but I think it's easier to kind of drag them in with these little bite-sized chunks of content. So that's kind of why we chose to do that. We do have a half an hour version of the pilot that or half an hour pilot version of the show that would lend itself to actually ending up on TV, when we're pitching our projects and meeting with networks and stuff like that. So if they're into the project, they can get an idea for like the characters in the show and the feel and the tone and kind of our POV in general. And then, if they wanted to develop it further, we have a pilot that, is a half an hour full blown pilot. So yeah, as far as the YouTube pros and cons, it's great because it's easy to get it out there, but it's so saturated that it can be hard to get eyeballs on it. So our whole point wasn't necessarily, obviously if it ends up, the right people end up seeing it, that's more important than how many people end up seeing it. So we were just kind of happy to have this as an opportunity to get our work out there and kind of share it with people, have an easy way to get people to see it. So I think it's like anything else, right? It is what you make of it, and it all has its pros and its cons. It's kind of like how you use it to your advantage. I think as long as you go into it knowing what those benefits are and what those pros and those cons are of whatever platform and whatever format you're working with, then as long as you're informed, you can use it to your benefit and kind of make it work for you, which is nice.
Now let's talk about the show. My favorite scene is still the one where you came in the bar.
Oh, okay.
Folks, she comes into this bar. She's just absolutely vetching looking.
Oh, thank you.
And it's a kind of a date.
Yes.
But it turns from cool to creepy, like going from 0 to 60 in a Lamborghini, like 4 seconds.
Yes, it totally does. And I'm so grateful for my co-star on the episode, Tommy Hobson. He's fantastic. I love him. We have this other project that we've been working on this year, and he's in that as well. And I'll probably put him in anything I ever do as much as I can going forward because he's just so much fun to work with. But yes, it turns out that the person that I'm on this blind date with is like a fan of Grace's, and a very creepy kind of fan. So it's one of those things where like the longer in the beginning, it's great. Oh, he's good looking, he's charming, it's going, and then it kind of like takes a steep turn and up in a very wacko area. But yeah, so that's a fun one. That was a very fun one to film. Fun one to write. Hard one to cast, to be honest. Thank God for Tommy, he nailed it. But yeah, that was a lot of fun.
And folks, I want you to see it. I want to play it. I want you to see it because I want to preserve something for her copyright.
Let's do it.
Yeah. And it's like, here's the thing. Oh, do you want me to play it now? I wasn't.
Yeah.
Oh, I can. I didn't know if I had the right to do that. Okay,
play it. Yeah, you can play whatever clips you want. Yeah, totally.
Okay, cool. Hey, that is music. To my music, folks. It is an absolutely hilarious segment, and I think. Thank God you're doing this because we need laughter.
Don't we though? Don't we all? Yeah, it's funny when we first released this. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, you were saying you're the boss.
When we first released it, it was like shortly into COVID, and I can't tell you how many people I talked to that were like, "Oh, I was so happy to be able to watch your project and laugh," because I think, like you said, we need that, and I think we continue to need it now more than ever. Every day that goes by, I think we need laughter a little more. So yeah.
Yeah, it really is. And hey, I gotta ask you, what do you think of how would your character really is you, isn't she?
I mean, she's me and she's not me. It's my experiences, but she obviously is. I feel like I have lots in common with Grace, but we're different people. She's certain traits in common with me and certain traits not. So yeah, it's my experiences, but through the lens of someone similar but also different.
Yeah. So here, folks, here is. I'm also buying time so you can watch this, but it was Disgraced. I'm trying to remember which
episode? It's episode 4. It's Bad Date.
Thank you. Episode 4. And because episode 4 is one here going down. Where was that filmed, by the way? Was that a bar that it's called Two Ice Cubes?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it was a space called the Work Bar in LA. Hopefully they're still open. It's a really nice little venue. So hopefully they're able to survive this pandemic and hanging in there.
And I have it here, folks. I'm going to pull it up on the screen. How did you find that particular venue? What kind of issue?
I'd filmed there for another project, so I was aware of its existence, and then just looked into it, and it worked out.
And folks, here it is in all of Victoria's glory. Disgraced, season 1, episode 4. It's called Two Ice Cubes. I think, well, never mind what I think. I think it's awesome, but I had another name for it, but never mind. Here it is.
Wow. You're like 15 minutes early.
Which makes you at least 16 minutes early.
First date jitters. What's your excuse?
Self-preservation. Normally, I like to get here a little early, develop a code with the waiter. He's not even out.
Oh,
You never know he's going to turn out to be a cannibal.
I get it. You know, you don't end up on a plate with a side of fava beans and a nice Chianti. It's too much.
I'm the one who brought up cannibals.
I really love that movie.
Oh, yeah, me too.
You know what kills me about that movie? Nobody wants to call it what it really is.
And what is it exactly?
It's a horror movie, through and through. But you see, because it has Sir Anthony Hopkins in it, because it has Jodie Foster in it, everybody calls it a thriller. You know, they say it's a crime drama. It's ridiculous. The guy wears another person's face. You know who else does that?
Please say you don't do that.
Leatherface. Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Nobody has any problems calling that a horror movie. It's like I think that calling something a horror movie is like saying it's a porn.
I take it you're a horror fan.
Yeah, I'm a huge horror fan.
Yeah, got that.
A few years ago, I was at Scream Fest Film Festival.
How long ago?
About 8 years ago. You were there with that short film.
Final Girl Blues.
You were amazing in it.
Oh, thank you.
No, I mean it. I knew right then that you were going to be huge. Now, I mean, look at you.
Not sure I'd classify myself as huge, but I appreciate the thought.
And you were fantastic in Quick and Angry 3. I don't care what anybody says.
Well,
I saw it 4 times. And I bought 3 copies on Blu-ray.
3.
Yeah. Gave one at my grandma's place, one at my girlfriend's place, one at my place, just with me.
Oh, so, I'm sorry, so you have a girlfriend?
Yeah. Oh, but it's cool. She knows I'm here.
Oh.
Hey, can I?
Now, hold on a second, folks. I got to stop it right there. Okay, folks. For those of you who are watching this, you're about to see where I got an education from Victoria the last time. All right, just keep this in mind. Remember, okay, keep this in mind. I'm still like, okay, but anyway, all right.
I will start with a glass of water, 2 ice cubes.
Okay.
I'll start with a Coke.
Great. Come right up.
You're my freebie.
God, Tommy.
Please tell me that doesn't mean what I think it means.
We each get a person, and if you ever get a chance to, fuck that person, you're allowed to go ahead and fuck that person. Hers is Robert Englund.
Freddy Krueger.
Yeah, she's a big horror fan like me, maybe even bigger. Oh, you would like her a lot.
Yeah.
And she even lets me keep a screenshot of your topless scene as the wallpaper on my laptop. I think she gets off to it as much as I do.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah.
There's a problem outside with her car.
Oh, great. Okay, I'll be right there.
Okay.
I need to go check on that.
You think I can get a couple of autographs before we order?
It's really urgent. Thank you.
Yeah, as soon as I get back. Promise.
Wait, okay, hold on a second. I gotta say, look,
Yeah.
you know what I'm going through my mind?
Huh.
No self-respecting brother does that. I'm like, no, man, that's like, no, he broke the brother code.
You
I
what's
was
the brother? How so?
Ah. Well, maybe, okay.
Yes.
Maybe the way I came up,
Mhm.
those are things that brothers didn't do.
Uh-huh.
I mean, yeah, you had the lady on how she looked hot and everything, but you didn't. I mean, first of all, you shouldn't have a girlfriend and do that.
Okay,
But for those dudes who did, they would
Yes.
never have disclosed. They would never have disrespected the woman by saying that they had another woman, right? It was like that's and look, this is part of this. I think is generational because I'll be 60 next year.
yes, definitely.
Okay, all right. So you call me boomer, whatever. But I loved our generation. We respected and loved women. We would never do that. It's like, no. So when I look at that, I'm like, I'm sweating now. I'm like, wow, that actually upsets me every time I see it. It's like, oh, yeah.
Therein lies the crux of the humor of our whole series. It's slightly uncomfortable. That's the whole point.
Oh, dang, right. I need a cold shower. Just that.
so funny.
No, I love it though because it's a cold shower you want to take again and again.
And then random fun factoid, Michael, who played the bartender in that episode, he's a super talented writer as well, and he has a short film that's actually nominated for Academy Award. It's all available on Netflix called If Anything Happens, I Love You. It's about grief of losing a child in the aftermath of a school shooting. It's beautiful. So check that out. He's awesome.
What's his name, by the way?
Michael Govier. Yeah,
Michael?
him. There's him right there. Yeah, his film is called If Anything Happens, I Love You. It's a short animated film on Netflix.
Oh, I thought he was maybe the bartender. He was actually
No, he's a friend of mine. Yeah.
Wow, that's cool.
It's called acting, Zenny. Come on, man.
It's authentic. You know, it's like real stuff. So
that's what we're hoping for.
It could have been like, oh yeah, the bartender owns it. And he says, hey, can I have a roll? You said, sure, and you made a trade, right? I don't know. So,
No, didn't happen. Yeah, you generally don't want to put anybody in your stuff that isn't actually an act. I mean, whatever. Sometimes they're okay, but if usually if you throw a bartender into a thing, they're gonna be like looking at the camera. You know what I mean? It's gonna be weird. It's like just use an actor. Use an actor.
I thought, okay, how did that? I'm really intrigued with that scene because it says so much about, for me, change and how society has changed, and about, like, for example, remember, you ever see the first Beverly Hills Cop?
Yes, but it's been many moons. Yeah.
Okay. There is a gentleman, black, whose name just flew out of my mind.
Yeah.
He was one of the Beverly Hills police officers, and he was the second team after the first team fell for the banana in the tailpipe.
Okay.
So he says, we're not falling for any banana tailpipe. And Eddie Murphy says, no, that's not it, brother. You got to like talk it out. We ain't falling for no banana tailpipe. But that's the generation that, you know, I came up through, right?
Right.
It was like, and things have changed to a point where I think, not to get off on a social tangent, that's not my intent, but it's, but look, I mean, things have changed to where he can be that person.
Yeah.
You know, Eric, I believe his name's Eric, right? He can be that person. And I just think it's so, no wonder
wait. Yeah, I mean the point is like the way that Tommy who plays Roman in the episode is playing is like supposed to be uncomfortable. Like that's not the way that somebody really should.
Right. But I'm saying generationally the way black men were taught.
I mean, I think you're speaking in real broad generalizations, though, because like I know it just depends on how you come up across race, across whatever. It's like how you're raised. Period. I think because I think there's a lot of people in your generation that did not treat women with respect, just like there's a lot of people in my generation that do. It just depends, right? But
they yeah, what I'm getting at is what is fascinating. Okay,
yeah,
it's not a criticism.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you.
It's but under the vein of the whole damn thing is uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Okay, and I mean in a good way, but because it makes you think and it makes you talk, and it's kind of like, wow, okay. But,
yeah. Sorry, sneak and get my tea.
But let me put it in another context.
Mm-hmm.
We were all friends of his at our age.
Yes.
And he brought that to us. We would say, dude, what did you just do? You told her what?
Oh yeah. Whereas nowadays they'd be high-fiving. Well, if he closes the deal, you know, I'm sure he'd lie and say he did close the deal to get the high fives. Like that's yeah.
If he closed the deal, we would be completely shocked, right? Never. Let me put it this way: you never put a woman in a position where she felt less than somebody else.
Right.
That was It didn't matter. Now, was there cheating going on? Yes. You know, by me, no. But you know, I was a nerd. Okay, I mean, I was in high school at the time. All right,
right.
Your face is like, but my point is that it's a fascinating look, you know, and a perspective. But it's like, yeah, run. But,
and she does.
Yeah. You know, what would be really interesting is to do another scene like that, but have an older black guy coming in and listening and saying, "Excuse me, brother, can I take your place?"
Show these young whippersnappers how it's done.
Exactly. Yes.
That's funny.
I love this. this is like, I mean, we got to get. So tell us about the award and how that came about and everything else. And this is, wow. No, every time I get into this is like, it's like an onion that you peel, you know, or it's all these layers to it.
Yes, well, thank you. I hope so.
Hey, so if anyone wants to collaborate you on a future episode, what do they do? Because I'm liking that idea I came up with.
I know people keep asking us. So while I will never say that we will never do a second season, we're open to it. We don't really. This was never meant to be like this was meant to be a stepping stone to other things, right? So the only way that we do a second episode or second season rather, is if we got funding for it and whatever, and you know what I mean. It was something like that. So just because there's a million other things that we have our little grimy, grubby hands in at the time, and we're always doing a million things. So while I love it and I love Grace and I loved doing it, we have 2 episodes that we wrote already that we didn't end up including in the first season just because of cost. It would have to be a special reason why we went back and did this, just because there's not really any, like, it's a means to an end with the web series, right? Like the web series itself, there's not a whole lot of ways to make money from it and what have you. So it was kind of more of a way to like get our POV out there, get ourselves out there, share our work with people, and then, you know, move on to the next thing. But yes, I would gladly revisit Grace if the right opportunity arose.
How much do you need to produce an episode?
I mean, it varies widely, and we're really lucky in that Frankie, who directed the episode Once Beautiful Woman, as well as Dumb Slut episodes, I think 3 and 6, is a fantastically talented DP, and he worked with us on a couple other projects. Him and Eric, my writing partner, go way back. Like, they did their first feature film together in Virginia many years ago. So he gave us like the most insane discounted rate, because I believe in paying people as much as I can. I hate like begging and pleading and like I hate feeling like I'm taking advantage of people. So like I want to at least pay them. So that's just like my own personal hang up. So we were super lucky in that he cut his rate for us. He got his crew, his crew under him to cut their rates for us. And we were able to use free locations that people gave to us mostly. I think the Work Bar, the place that in that episode of the 2 Ice Cubes, the date episode, is the only location we had to pay for in the whole thing. So we were able to cut our costs quite a bit. But so it's what we paid, like what we actually ended up spending, but what it really would cost are 2 very different things. So I think we did the whole series. We did 8 episodes. Like I said, they're all under 10 minutes. I think we shot the whole series for around $15,000, I want to say.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that's with, again, people like being very generous with their time for us. So yeah, so if we were going to do it again, I wouldn't want to call in the favors for that. That's kind of what I'm saying. You know what I mean? So it would cost. It probably should cost around like $5,000 an episode. I would guess. Pulling that out of my butt without having like actually looked at it.
So I mean, if you had a GoFundMe, right? Or do you have a GoFundMe by chance that people can pay into?
We did a Kickstarter. We did what was it, a GoFundMe? I think we did an Indiegogo for this for initially to raise some money for it. So we did get about. I think we raised around $12,000. I want to say. I have to check it. It's been a while, but yeah, for this. So we were able to fund most of it with that. So yes, but again, similarly like to that, there's a lot of filmmakers who basically will do that for every project that they do. That's not really again, I think it's like a means to an end. I think it kind of should be used as a means to an end. So that's kind of not my business model to continue to do so over and over, if that makes sense. Not that I would never do so again. Just like, I wouldn't want to keep doing all these different GoFundMes for Disgraced, like season 2 and season 3. You know what I mean? Just because it makes me feel.
Absolutely. Yeah,
again, it's my own hangups. It just makes me feel. I'd rather be making a feature where like there's at least we can get distribution and make money from it that way, because there's really no way.
And also good for you. I'm not.
Yeah.
Right, and I hear what you're saying. I'm not an expert at GoFundMe's myself, and I think the thing that scares me is that I'm going to do something wrong, right, and not get the impact. But there are people who are specialists. What I'm getting at in the case of what you've got is it's fun, that it's almost like you could. There's a thing there that needs to be explored, and what I mean by that is, I don't, not even just in terms of episodes, but also maybe somebody says, well, hey, can I put my, sponsors and all that sort of thing. You guys have some really great material. And
thank you.
I consistently say that, it's
I appreciate that. Yeah, there's a lot of people who I will fully admit I am not savvy at this whole like sponsorship thing in terms of like getting brands. And I have a lot of filmmaker friends who do that, or have done that with some success for funding their thing. I think that's great. It's just something that I'm not myself super versed in. But yeah, there's a lot of people who do that. Like they'll, throw your, or even like they'll do a thing where like this brand will chip in and we'll film you a commercial and do stuff like that. So there's all kinds of things that people work out, and that's great. Like I said, for us, our next move is always going to be a feature. So that way we can monetize it.
I'm afraid of rejection, and that's my.
You picked the wrong business, baby.
Well, it's like, I think in terms of digital media, period, rejection comes in different forms. It's
totally,
it's how many views you get or anything else. But, something else, and I say this not to change the subject or anything, but just a very second of advice to anybody in digital media. Remember, there's something called impressions. And even if somebody may not view, like YouTube views, YouTube counts a view like a full view. Okay. Twitter will count 1 second. 1 second, that's a view that's it gets counted.
Oh, so, YouTube doesn't count that way? It has to be the entire completion?
Yeah, YouTube, right. Yeah, because it factors into something called watch time, right? And that's why used to be that when I first started out in this, 2 minutes and 12 seconds was the average. Now you'll find people who make videos that are 16 minutes to 20, and past 5 minutes, they really aren't saying anything as vloggers, right? Now shows like yours, different story. But the point is, and I think it inures better to watch time, and you guys should really, and I'm happy to help you become YouTube partners, because you got something there that should be on that stage. But for people, if you can become a partner, it's not just the views, it's also your impressions. It's how many people saw the name.
Yes.
And you can go to a sponsor and say, I've got X. Now, having said that, I will say this. Get your data ready for somebody who's more specialized in selling. I'm not specialized in selling it, but I know how to get my data, right?
That makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, right? That's what I'm saying. And it's and I apologize for going off on that tangent, but the reason I did is because you guys have this gold mine in this product that's got these really conversational episodes that you can look at from so many different perspectives, laugh at each one and get sweaty and,
and feel really uncomfortable and kind of dirty.
Right. In a good way. Sometimes, it's like, but it's us. It's the human experience, eh?
Yes, absolutely.
Which I asked you this question before, but I ask you again, did that ever actually happen to you?
Which one? The date episode?
Yeah.
No. I've had so many awkward things, but that one is not. No, that one is purely. It's kind of strung together from various, to create one more cohesive story. But yeah.
But you told me that what they were talking about actually happens.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm still floored by that.
In terms of people having a list, like having like a. Yeah. Oh, it's totally a thing. Absolutely. I mean, whether or not, like, let's be real, most people aren't going to get the opportunity or be of interest to somebody on their list, right? So it's a thing that's probably never going to happen. But I feel like a lot of people, like in couples, will have like their list, if I ever meet Will Smith, like, whatever. It's like that kind of thing. How serious people are about it, TBD. But yeah, it's definitely like a thing. Like, he's my free pass, he's my hall pass, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, but
that's a thing.
But it begs the question: how many people who have the list actually go about executing the list?
That's what I'm saying. I feel like it's kind of an impossible task, right? Like, who you're not gonna have unless your list is like the girl, like Tina from the coffee shop. You know what I mean? It's like, how are you gonna have access?
Yeah.
Which and I think that kind of like defeats the purpose of it. The purpose of it is like celebrities, because you're not gonna have access or interest from them. So yeah.
I love this so.
Hitting those deep important issues like hall pass, free pass lists.
Well, this is if you want to understand what Disgraced is all about and how fun it is to watch. You got to see it because it will produce these conversations. You got to watch it with a group of people. It's something else. And you have episodes you did in 11 months ago and then 10 months ago, right? And then the pandemic hit. Is that what happened?
No, so we had filmed it all before the pandemic. So we were ready to have our premiere, like we were going to have a screening of it at the end of March. And then, you know, the pandemic happened in the middle of March. So we had to cancel that. So we filmed this. I can't even remember it at this point. My brain has gone to mush because of COVID. We were basically wrapped up. We were wrapped up, done with post in March. But we filmed them all together. We filmed them all over 8 days. So yeah.
Wow. It's like before that's season 4. Now, which one is your favorite episode?
My favorite is probably a tie between Once Beautiful Woman and then Hollywood Heartthrobs Part 2. Those are my favorite ones. They were from the beginning, like as far as the conception of, you know, writing of, shooting, editing, the whole thing. I had really high expectations for Hollywood Heartthrobs Part 2. Like in my head, I saw it a very, very particular way. And I was really thrilled with how it turned out. Like you know how sometimes you can't quite make it land the way you have it in your mind. That one for me was like exactly how I loved it. And then Frankie directed our DP. He directed Once Beautiful Woman, and he like killed that one. So I think those are fantastic. Those are my favorite.
Shall we look at it?
Go ahead.
Absolutely. This is Hollywood. This is season 1 episode.
Oh no, do part two, not part 1.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
That's okay. It's okay. Although part 1 is fine, part 2 is much more fun.
Hollywood Heartthrobs.
So there we go. Episode 7.
Episode 7. Come on, Zinni, where are your eyes going? 5, 4. My eyes
with the like golden kind of
right there.
There you go. There you go.
I love this intro.
His name is Derek Dashin. Fitting because of his dashing good looks, but fans all over the world know him as D-Dash. This award-winning actor and international heartthrob first caught Hollywood's attention in the Sundance Audience Award-winning independent film, Not Without My Pitbull.
Mon pitbull, c'est moi. Je suis mon pitbull. Mon pitbull et moi faisons un.
From there, the rise was meteoric. Next, he landed the role of the killer in the Hedge Clipper trilogy. But it was his scene-stealing performance in Quick and Angry 3 that brought him international fame. His chemistry with Grace Green was so electric, we can't even show you the infamous ice cream truck love scene. And whatever happened to his co-star Grace Green? Things haven't been so rosy for the former Hollywood it girl. Hard to believe that at one time, there were rumors that she and D-Dash were an item.
We're not fucking. Can't we just be friends?
After Quick and Angry 3, Grace found herself in the middle of a scandal while on the set of yet another Pride and Prejudice remake.
What do you have to say about the incident, Miss Green?
I didn't kill the horse.
But you are clearly on a horse in the picture.
That is just the horse I was riding on set. That horse is still alive.
Do you have any further comment?
No comment.
What about animal rights activists?
Oh my god, I love animals. I didn't kill the horse.
She doesn't even have reusable grocery bags. Does Grace Green hate the earth? Despite the box office and critical failure of Quick and Angry 3, the man known as D-Dash became a household name. It wasn't long before he was named the sexiest man alive. Movies, international fame, and engagement to an Israeli heiress. 2 sexiest man alive titles. It seems like Derek Dashin can't lose. And now he's ready for his next act. Fatherhood. You heard it here first. The young couple are looking to adopt.
We want to save all the brown babies.
And where's Grace Green now? Let's just say she's still out.
Good times. Yeah, we just love the idea that like he went on to have this great career after this show flopping, and meanwhile she's had like a hellish time, and so I just love that idea of him like blowing up and can't do any wrong, and her like dealing with what she's dealing with. So it was really fun.
This guy, I gotta say, when I first saw his face, this guy looks like right here. He looks like his profile. Right there.
Good.
He looks like Zachary Quinto.
Oh, interesting. No, his name's Danelle Leyva. He's actually a U.S. Olympic gymnast. He's like the most Danelle Leyva.
Yeah, he looks like Zachary Quinto.
Interesting.
Yeah, I just thought for a second. I thought, wait a minute, that's Zach. Wait a minute, it's not.
No, definitely not. Definitely not.
It's like, how did that idea come up? How'd you come up with that idea? I should say, yeah.
Yeah, well, like I was saying before, we were kind of just tickled at the idea of like the female co-star getting blamed for the movie flopping and the male co-star going on to have this great career, which is known to happen quite often, right? I feel like it's a separate set of standards for women and men in Hollywood. So we knew from the beginning that we wanted to bring her co-star from this movie we keep mentioning, her big break that turned out to not be a big break. We knew we wanted to have him in the show in some capacity. So we were toying around with ideas, and we just loved that one when we came up with it. Like, what if we have like a profile on him and he wants her to be like a part of it, and it's like contrasting what happened to her with him, and poking fun at everything. And it was a lot of fun to shoot. I love the way it's shot. I love the whole thing. So yeah, I was really happy with how that one turned out.
Now, as we like a final 10, but
yeah,
is tell us how things are because of the pandemic. We hear it, but from your perspective as an actress in Hollywood, Hollywood itself, what's happening?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's a time of adjustment for a lot of industries, right? So production's pretty much back up, which is good. Everyone I know that is like a series rag on TV has had to deal with shutdowns due to people coming, testing positive for COVID. So there's been a lot of shutdowns on all the shows that have resumed filming. I think it's inevitable, despite doing all the testing and the best efforts. Sets are crowded, dirty environments in the best of times, So I think that's going to continue to be somewhat of a challenge, but they've definitely made strides with how they're handling it in terms of, being safe on set and testing and doing the best they can. I think it's going to be interesting to see how it affects I know there's been a lot of decisions made basically on TV shows, especially to cancel and not go forward with shows because of budgeting concerns and because of COVID concerns. Budgeting concerns due to COVID, especially. So it's like, if it's a show that requires a lot of contact, a lot of large scenes with like lots of extras and crowds and stuff, I think networks are making decisions saying like, oh, this is going to be really tricky to film during these times or really expensive to film during these times. And so they're opting not to move forward with it. Like they chose to end Glow before its final season for that reason, because it's a wrestling show, a lot of contact, tricky to film, right? So there's been a lot of decisions kind of made with that in mind. So it'll be interesting to see what the long-term ramifications of that are. And the same thing with film, you've added a whole layer of costs on your budget with COVID compliance now. So it's definitely a detriment for like your lower budget films. A lot of them are not going to be able to manage that burden of the additional costs with COVID. So
educated folks about that. What one has to do to be COVID compliant to film? What does that mean?
I mean, it depends, right? There's guidelines per union. So every union has their own set of guidelines. So SAG for actors has a set of guidelines. I can't think of what the union is for crew members, but they have their own set of guidelines. So if you have a union set, then you have to follow those guidelines, which includes a COVID compliance officer on set, various like dictated amounts of testing that need to be done. So you as a production have to pay for all that. You have to pay for the COVID compliance officer, you have to pay for the testing, you have to pay for the sanitization and all that kind of stuff that's happening on set. So obviously those costs are not insignificant. They've added quite a bit to every production. So for your smaller productions, like I'm saying, really hard to kind of like shoulder the burden of that cost. So it'll be interesting to see what the effects are. Like, I know for me and Eric, what we decided to do is we were going to be working on a feature-length horror film later last year that we had to put on hold because of COVID. So we actually wrote an entirely different project that is very weird. It will be coming out very soon. I'm very excited about it. That we could film during COVID. That we wrote with that in mind and made it very small and creative and whatever. And you've already seen projects like that coming out already. It kind of forces you to be creative for like the really truly low budget things, with how you film and how you shoot and how you tell your story. So I think it's great in that sense. I think people's creativity is always like, I'm in awe of it. So I think that they'll continue to be awesome creative stories told that make the best of this circumstance that we're in, but there are definitely going to be effects, you know, in terms of the impact on the industry. How far-reaching it is and how long-lasting it is remains to be seen, right? I mean, it's a whole lot of we don't know. Wait and see what happens, you know, like everybody else. I wish I had the answers, but I do not.
Hey, how can people contact you if they have ideas or keep in touch? As you have a
people reach out. You're more than welcome to contact me. So on social media, it's just my name at Victoria Vertuga. My email is the same. My website's the same. Just find my name on any of them social sites and you'll find me.
And that is, I'm writing that down now, right? That's your Instagram at Victoria Vertuga, right?
Yep, correct.
What happened to the magic of StreamYard? There it is, folks.
Oh, it lives. Beautiful.
Yes, and I spelled it correctly, I believe.
You did spell it correctly. Thank you. I cannot tell you how many times I get called Veronica more than I get called my actual name. Usually Veronica Verdugo. People like to call me Veronica Verdugo. I'm like, close. Not quite right. Close.
And we'll have you back and stick around. In the backstage, I have some ideas I want to share. Folks, if you haven't done so before, subscribe to Zenny62. And I want to thank everybody for watching our live stream interviews. They've quite a joy. And hey, if you see this, share it around and build it up. We'll see you later. And Victoria, stick around.
Yeah. Bye, guys.
That ends this broadcast.